لذكره فزا ولشكره هدى ولا صوابه موجبا ولحسن مزيده مقربا الصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين شفيع المذنبين راحة للعاشقين والمراد المشتاقين شمس العارفين والسراج الصالحين نبيه مصباح والعلم صاحب الجود والكرم هو الله حافظه وجبرائيل خادمه والبراق مركبه السدرة المنتهى مقامه كاب قوسين محبوب رب المشرقين والمغربين جد الحسن والحسين مولانا ومولاي الثقلين أبي القاسم محمد
اللهم صل على محمد
ثم الصلاة والسلام على جميع أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين المنتخبين المظلومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
ورحمة الدائمة على دائم منكر فضائلهم قاصب حقوقهم ومراتبهم ومنزلتهم ومقامهم من يومنا هذا إلى قيام يوم الدين أما بعد فقد قال الله الحكيم في قرآنه الكريم وهو أصدق القائلين قوله الحق بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والله يعلم وأنتم لا تعلمون صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
We're speaking over the next 10 days about technology and digital technology. And as you can see, it's already not on our side. But it's not all doom and gloom. As it would happen, we were expecting today to be the first of Muharram. None of us really knew when first of Muharram would be this year. And so it's transpired that we now have had an extra Majlis. So we started 2 days before Muharram instead of the usual 1 day. Now, if we get an extra chance to come to the masjid, come to the Imam Baragah, we get an extra chance to gather as a community, we get an extra chance to come and sit on the Farsh Azhar, we get an extra chance to be a part of this Azadari, to learn and to reflect about our lives and about Islam and how it all fits together, then nobody's complaining, it's not a problem at all. Except sometimes the speaker who planned 10 majlises and now has to find an 11. For those of you who have seen the topic list which was published, just to clarify for you guys, there won't be a change to that topic list in the sense that when you plan 10 lectures, you have to be very careful about what you say in each one, because if I say tomorrow's content today, then I'm going to get to tomorrow and not have enough to say. But what we're going to do is we're going to stick to the original list, the original topics, and at the end of it, we'll have an additional one. And like I said, nobody's complaining about that. An extra chance to learn, an extra chance for insight. So sticking to the original plan, today we're looking at the different types of digital technology we use, the different things we use it for, the different reasons we use it, and just trying to understand. And it's important to understand the different technologies we use for one very simple reason. They're so ingrained in our life. They're such a big part of everything we do that we have to understand what they are, how we use them, why we use them, what they're doing for us, what we're doing for it. We have to understand the relationship between ourselves and these digital technologies that we're talking about, because they are such a massive part of what we do, what our life is. And today, we're going to play by the rule of 3. So I've categorized the digital technologies into 3 categories, and then we're going to ask 3 questions about them. Ask 3 things about those digital technologies that we're talking about. First, I'll tell you what those 3 categories are. We're looking at digital technology focused on interaction, how we interact with each other. We're looking at digital technology that's focused on education and information. And we're looking at digital technology that's focused on entertainment, just pure entertainment. And the 3 questions we're going to ask are, how do we use them? How do we interact with those digital technologies? That's the first question. The second question is, why are those digital technologies available to us? What's their purpose? What are they? We know why we use them, but why are they made available? And the third question is, how do the owners of those digital technology, the owners of those services, how do they achieve what they want through these digital technologies, through these different services and products that they give us? So the first thing I want to look at is, what are they and why do we use them? So when we're talking about the three different categories, I mentioned entertainment, interaction, and information. Let's first look at entertainment, because this is the biggest one. And it's probably the one that will take up most time. See, you can talk about social media when it comes to interaction, because that's a massive thing, that's very important. But we'll come to that in the coming days. Today, a large part of it will be talking about entertainment, how we entertain ourselves, how we keep ourselves having fun. And the different types of digital technologies we use for entertainment. There's all sorts of different things we do, all sorts of different things that we turn to for entertainment. I'll split those into three categories again. One is gaming, one is streaming, audio streaming, and the third is video streaming. So gaming, we're talking, PS5, PS4, Xbox. I don't think anyone has an Xbox anymore. PS5 and PS4, gaming on your computer, on your phone. I can see someone has an Xbox there in the back. That kind of gaming, and we spend a lot of time doing it. But why? First question, the usage. Why do we use it? What are we getting from it? And this can be quite different Majlis to a lot of the ones you've heard, because this is quite pro gaming and quite pro entertainment. Because you know what? See, me, I grew up playing football. I was always outside the house. Even if I was just on my own kicking a ball against the wall, that's what I was doing. And that was what everyone else around me was doing as well. That was like my generation, that's what we did. We grew up running around outside, playing football on our bikes, things like that. New generations, they're growing up playing football, except their football's on FIFA. They're growing up riding bikes, except they're doing it on GTA. See, it's a different world, right? And we have to tap into it. We can't ignore the fact that that's the direction the world's going in. And of course, we have to moderate how much we game. We have to moderate how much we do these things. But let's try and understand why we do it as well. Because gaming, it actually does a lot for us. It gives us a lot back. And this is quite a lot for your parents and for the parents in the room to understand some of the benefits of gaming as well. Not to completely shy it off, regulate it. Don't be on games 24/7, but to allow us to kind of figure out why it is we do it and what we get from it. The first thing is this feeling of novelty. When you don't go out much, when your life is just school, back to home, or work, back to home, there's not a lot of new things going on in your life. It's pretty much the same thing every day. And that can get very tiring, that can get very boring, that can get very mundane. Especially for you young guys, if you think that for the rest of your life it's just wake up, go to work, come home, eat, go to sleep, and do the same thing over and over again, that sounds very boring, doesn't it? Sounds like something you don't ever really want to get and fall into the trap of. That's the reality of life for a lot of people. But if you can have something new, some kind of novelty, something that changes every day, then that makes it quite a lot better. Which is why we quite like it when we can explore a new map. It's why we quite like it when, if you're playing GTA where you can leave Grove Street and go over to the other side of the map. You get new things, new maps, you get new avatars, you get new tools, things like that. And the more you can have something new in that game, the more enjoyable it is. That's why, for instance, Temple Run, it was great while it lasted, but it wore out. People don't play Temple Run anymore, they don't play Flappy Bird anymore, they don't play Angry Birds anymore, because it was the same thing again and again. There was no real change to it. It might have got a little bit more difficult, but it was the same thing again and again, right? And they were great while they were popular, but they very quickly ran out of popularity. They very quickly got deleted from phones and whatnot to make space for other things. The second one is, it does give you a sense of accomplishment. A lot of these games, when you play them, you try and get better at it. They take a bit of skill. You've got to get better. Nobody starts playing FIFA and is a pro from day one, from the moment you pick up the controller. Some of you will be better than others. Some of you will be more natural than others. But nobody's a pro from the moment you start playing. So when you notice yourself getting better, it does feel good. You've accomplished something. You've gotten better. Every time you win in FIFA, you're doing better. You've accomplished something. You've done something good. It's good for you to feel those kind of feelings, that kind of happiness, that kind of reward that you get back from it. There's a sense of freedom that we get in a lot of games. And it's the same kind of thing of exploring a map. When you can go out and explore in the game, but you can't go out and explore in real life, especially when you're younger, you're at home. If you want to go somewhere, you have to go with your parents, things like that. But when you jump on a map, when you jump on your games, you can explore, you can go all over the map, you can see everything that the world in that game has to offer. And when you get to explore, it feels good, you have some kind of a freedom. And that kind of taps into the next point, which is, it gives us an escape from what our real life is like. It gives us an escape from what we do in our real life or what our real life holds. And this is a place where a lot of adults also play games as well. They also game because it gives you that kind of escape. And there's different forms of escaping. It's not just playing games. So for instance, I don't know, loads of people, the reason books like Harry Potter and Percy Jackson and things like that were so popular is because people would read them and they kind of fall into that character. They find themselves in Harry Potter and think, yeah, I'm that guy now. I can just pretend to be that guy, or imagine I'm living in that world instead of the world I'm actually living in. And when I say escaping from reality, it sounds quite drastic. Like, why are you trying to escape from reality? Especially if you're a kid, what's reality showing you that you're trying to escape? But it can be all sorts of things, really. It can be when you're bored. Like when you're sitting in a maths lesson and you get bored, so you start thinking, okay, if gunmen were to storm the classroom now, how would I save everybody with my own bare hands? What would I do to save the day? And I can tell by your smiles that I'm not the only one who used to do that in a maths class. And I can also tell by looking at you guys who's doing it right now. When you get bored, you escape into another dimension, you escape into your imagination. It's the same thing we do with games. You escape away from whatever it is that's going on in real life, whether it's because it's boring, whether that's because it's tough and you don't want to face it, for whatever reason, you escape away. We do it. It's natural, it's normal. And it's important to have an escape. I mean, last time I spoke here, last time I did an Ashra at AlQuaim, I spoke about how we can escape through travelling, go on holiday and things like that. This is another way of escape, except this one doesn't cost £300-400. It's important to have an escape. It's important to have a place where you can go to that's separate from your real life. You can just fall into your imagination. There's also obviously the excitement. Playing games, it can give you a thrill, it can give you an excitement. So, for instance, if you're playing GTA, there's absolutely no logical reason why you should get 5 stars, but sometimes you feel like, you know what, I just want to have 5 stars. I want to have the police and the army chasing me. I want to have helicopters coming after me. So you do it. The point in GTA is not to get arrested, but what do? Let me go and punch that police officer. Why? So I can get police after me. There's an excitement, there's a bit of a risk. It kind of gets you going. The adrenaline starts to rush. And you think, yeah, now I'm enjoying this. And you get that from your games. You get that when you're gaming. And like I said, I mentioned Temple Run earlier, like one of the most basic games. If it was just you running, it's not much fun. Same with Subway Surfers. If it's just you running, it's not much fun. But when you've got that massive gorilla or that train conductor running after you, now there's that element of risk, that element of threat, that if I stumble, if I fall, if I don't make that jump, if I don't make that duck, then the gorilla or the train conductor, whatever's chasing me, is going to catch me. It gives you that sense of excitement, that rush, that kind of sense of threat. But at the same time, and this is one of the really important things as well, it gives you that sense of threat, that sense of rush, that things could all go wrong. But at the same time, when you're gaming, that's a safe place to fail. If you fail in a game, what's going to happen? You're going to respawn, you're going to start again. You know what I mean? You're going to rage quit. What's going to happen? Nothing really happens, right? If you fail in real life, there's consequences, there's problems. If you're not studying work hard enough at school, or if you're not getting the grades for whatever reason, it can have consequences. If you miss a deadline, if you miss your homework, there's consequences. If you don't make the submission at uni, there's consequences. If at work you're not producing good work, or you're not showing up to work on time, there's consequences. You'll get pulled up on it. Real life consequences. But in the game, it doesn't matter. You just start over. You can fail in the game as many times as you need to, and it's safe. Nothing actually happens to you in real life. Having that safe place to fail, that safe place to grow, is so important. It's so necessary. Because when you have that, then you're more confident in trying new things in your real life. You're more confident in being able to do things in your real life. And you do pick up certain skills in games that you can apply in your real life. You do pick up certain things that you can take to your real life and use them there. And if you're able to fail in the game until you're an expert at X, Y, or Z, and then use that skill in real life, then fair enough. You've been able to perfect it in a safe place and then go into the real world and use it. Another one is, this is quite interesting, when you're able to see results and build something. It's like Clash of Clans. I don't know how many of you guys still play that. Clash of Clans, when you build your village, or, I don't know, some of you older guys, Farmville, or, I don't know, there's all sorts, Minecraft, all these different games where you're building something. Or even like FIFA career mode. You're building something, and once you've built it, it's great. You see the results, you like that, you enjoy the results. Like when you take a terrible team and you win the league with them, like you take, I don't know, you take Nottingham Forest or like Tottenham or something, and you win the league, or you actually win something with them, all of a sudden, you've built something good, you've done something good with it, right? And you've seen the results of your work, you've seen the results of your efforts. And that's a nice feeling. That's a good feeling when you see that and you think, you know what, I've actually done something quite good with my career mode, with my career team, or ultimate team. You know, I've got informed people, I'm winning games, I've got 100 chemistry, I'm doing quite good with this. When you're able to build something and you see the results of what you built, it's a good feeling, it's a nice feeling. You see it and you like it. There's also, you know, this only applies really to like 1% of people, but there is a lot of earning potential there. I mean, the people who are at the top of the games, they can do great. They can make real money. I mean, we're talking about KSI, Harry from Syed, these guys built their careers off of this, and now they're doing all right, let's not lie. There's an opportunity to do well if you're streaming or if you become a professional esports gamer or whatever it is. You know, there's a possibility for that, and that's another reason why people do it. They do it as a career. They do it purely because, you know what, I can earn money off of it. It's one of the reasons, we can't ignore it, it's there, it's a reason. But on the flip side, I think the reason that most people do it is just because they can relax. Just because it's a place to, you know, you don't have to think about it too hard, you can clear your mind and enjoy it. And, you know, for those of you who don't drive, or even for those of you who do drive with these petrol prices, you have a long, stressful day, you can just get in the car and go for a drive, but except now you do it on Forza or Need for Speed or GTA instead of actually getting in your car. It's one of those things where you can just relax, and the final and most obvious reason that I'm going to mention is simply because it's fun. We all need to have a bit of fun in our lives. We all need to have something in our lives that we enjoy, something that we do that brings us pleasure, brings us enjoyment. Islam doesn't tell you to live a boring life. Islam doesn't tell you to lead a bad life. Last time I was here, I was speaking about the same kind of thing. It says in the Quran, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, O the content soul, return to your Lord who is pleased with you, who is happy with you. What's Allah saying? He's happy with you when you're content. What does content mean? It means you're happy. Allah Azza wa Jalla, He's happy with you when you're happy with yourself. And if you want to be happy in life, you have to have a bit of fun. You have to have something that you can enjoy, something you can kick back and just relax and enjoy it. And for a lot of people, that's what gaming does. That's what gaming is for you. And now, the second part of the entertainment faction that we were talking about. Audio streaming, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Premium. And I'm really talking about here about music, and a lot of people, they take issue when things like music are discussed from the minbar, but we have to remember, these Majalis, these First Azhar, they're not just for the best of Muslims and the best of Mu'mineen, these are for everyone. These are a healing space for everyone. These are a space where you can come and get closer to your religion. So if I'm talking about music, even though certain types of music are haram, it's because we're acknowledging, and we'd be very naive not to acknowledge that people do listen to music. People in our community listen to music, we all do. And we all have people around us who listen to music if we don't listen to it ourselves. So we have to acknowledge it, and we have to look at how we can grow and come closer to the deen. Because most people listen to music at this point. So I will mention it. The reasons people listen to music first is, I mean, it sounds good, right? That's the first and foremost reason why you listen to music, or you listen to whatever it is that you listen to. And it doesn't have to be music, it can be a noha, it can be a manqabat, it can be a naad, it can be Quran, it can be anything that you listen to, any kind of audio track that you listen to, it can be anything. You listen to it because it sounds good. I'm talking about music specifically, or like kind of manqabats in the way that they are now presented, with a kind of beat, and with a kind of track, and things like that. It does have a chemical impact on your mind. We spoke about it yesterday. It does have an impact on your brain. And one of the most kind of odd things about humans, and this does make humans sound a little bit psycho, but it's true, is we like disruption. And that's why when there's a good beat drop, you like it. That's why when the beat changes, you like it. Because as humans, naturally, we like disruption. It triggers a chemical in our mind, which is the same chemical that we receive when we feel a reward when something good goes our way. So we do like it. It does feel good. And that's why we listen to music. That's why people listen to music. The next point is mood regulation. It helps you regulate your mood or accentuate it. When you're feeling really down and you listen to a really sad song, or on the flip side, you feel really down and you listen to a really happy song, it changes your mood. These are the reasons why people listen to music. These are the reasons they do these things. I'm not saying they're right. Islam also regulates it because music has an effect on you, has an impact on you, so Islam regulates it. But again, we'd be naive to pretend that nobody here listens to music. We'd be naive to pretend that nobody does, so we have to address it. We have to look at it. These are the reasons people do it. And if we look at these reasons, then we can also work on siphoning music away from our lives, pushing it away from us. How? We can find those reasons in other things. we can find that fulfillment elsewhere. See, here's one of the beautiful things about the religion of Islam, where Allah Azza wa Jalla says, no, you're not allowed to do something, He gives you an alternative. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, no, you're not allowed to eat pork, He says, but you can eat beef, and you can eat lamb, and you can eat chicken. If Allah Azza wa Jalla says, no, you're not allowed to listen to music, there's other things that you're allowed to do as substitutes, which fulfill those same kind of natural needs and requirements, except they don't have a negative effect on you. They don't take you away from what you're meant to be. The third one is nostalgia. And this doesn't apply just to music. This can be no'as and manqabas, this can be certain ayats of the Quran, this can be anything. Nostalgia. The way our body works is our senses, they all work in conjunction with our mind, with our memory. So if, for instance, there was a particular noha that you used to listen to at one point in your life, a very specific point in your life, and then years later you hear that same noha again, you'll be reminded of that time, you'll be reminded of that moment in your life. It will take you back, and that's because that's just the way these things work. And this is the same for all of your senses. It'll be like, I'll give you a really weird example just for myself, is in my house we used to use this very particular hand wash, and we used it for years. And we switched and whatnot, and then years later, I used that hand wash again, and I thought, oh, I remember this. This is something familiar. And it took me back to that time in my life where we used to use that hand wash. And it's the most mundane thing, but it's a nice feeling to have that nostalgia. We like remembering good times, or it's not always good times, sometimes it can be bad times, but we like to remember our past. We like to dive into our memory. It's a nice feeling for us to be able to dive into our memory. And again, one of the reasons that people use these audio streaming platforms, your Spotify, your Apple Music, your YouTube Premium, your SoundCloud, whatever it is because it gives you that sense of nostalgia when you listen to a track. It makes it easier to access those tracks. It makes it easier to do all of these things. And the last one is identity. Some people really build their identity around what they listen to. They really build who they are around the artist they listen to. Like some people will be a Travis fan and nothing else, they know nothing else, or they'll be a J. Cole fan and they know nothing else about themselves. They build their identity off of that, and that's not healthy, that's not good. There's so much more to you than the people you listen to. But that's the reason people do it, because they build that identity, they feel like they have to continue listening to it. Every time there's a new album drops, they have to listen to it, they have to think about it, they have to critique it, they have to go over it. They put more effort into that than they do for their English anthology, but they feel like they have to, because that's part of their identity, that's who they are, that's who they've made themselves, the personality that they've given to the world. And then you've got video streaming, the third of the facets of entertainment. Video streaming is stuff like Amazon Prime, Netflix, what else is there? Amazon Prime, Netflix, BBC iPlayer, I don't know, ITV Hub, 4 on Demand, all these different kind of video streaming platforms. How do we interact with them? Why do we use them? Depends which ones we're using. If we're using, for instance, BBC iPlayer, it could be purely because I want to watch Wimbledon, I want to watch the tennis. This is a lot more kind of directed towards what you want to watch. But again, there's different reasons for it. Sometimes you watch it just to tune things out. And it's one of the things about music as well. Almost never, 99% of the time, if you're listening to music, you're not listening to music because music's what you want to listen to. It's a background to something else. It's a background to whatever it is you're doing. If you're studying and you've got music on in the background, music's the background there. Even if you're just lying there doing nothing with headphones in, what you're doing is nothingness. Music is the background to that. Videos can be that. Video streaming, like we mentioned yesterday, when you're eating something but you can't eat without putting something on, so you put something on the telly. You put on, I don't know, Modern Family or Brooklyn Nine-Nine or whatever it is you're watching. When you do that, you've got it as a background. That's one reason we do it. Just background noise, because sometimes we like to have that there. Another reason we do it is it gives you some kind of an emotional connection sometimes. So you know when you're watching your favorite streamer do a reaction, your favorite YouTuber do like a reaction video, it makes no sense. When you say it out loud, I'm watching somebody watch something else to see how they react to it, that makes no sense at all. But people do it and they get millions of views. Why? Because you know that tiny little momentary reaction you get, that little moment of he reacted the same way I did. You know what I mean? Like, oh, KSI laughed at the same thing I laughed at. That little momentary connection, it makes a difference. You feel like, oh yeah, they like the same things we do. Oh yeah, they react the same way we do. We watch it for that little emotional connection with whoever we're watching. It also has the ability to evoke feelings, evoke emotions. And it does. Depending on what you're watching, you can have really emotional moments in there. Like that final scene in Friends, which was meant to be emotional. You've got all sorts of things, like, what's his name, Randolph, when he told all the sidemen that he's going to be a dad. That was an emotional video. You feel some kind of connection with these people, this emotional sides to the videos we watch. And it makes a difference. It's important. And that emotional connection is something we crave. We don't get that everywhere. Especially as, like, I'm sitting in front of guys, there's ladies behind the curtain, but I'm sitting in front of guys. As guys, you don't get that very often, that kind of emotional connection. Something that really tries to evoke emotion in you. So when you're watching something and it does, you feel a great connection to it. When you're watching something and it evokes that emotion, it makes you feel happy or sad or any kind of way, you feel a connection to it because it's done something to the very core of you. Your emotions, they come right from your heart, they come from deep inside you. And when a video can do that, you'll like that video. You'll enjoy watching that video. And you'll watch more of the same. You'll look for videos that are of the same kind of nature, movies or films or whatnot, of that same kind of nature. But then what's the intent? Didn't notice that built up again. What's the intent behind it? Why do the companies who produce these different things do? So why do Epic Games make Fortnite? Why do EA Sports make FIFA? Why does Netflix give us Netflix? Why does Amazon Prime give us Amazon? Why do we have all these different things? What's the intent for the company? What are they getting out of it? Again, let's look at each of them. So gaming. Gaming is very simple. And I'll be honest with you guys, for almost everything, the intent here is money. None of these are charities, none of them are non-profits. They want to make money one way or another. And they will make money one way or another. But let's look at how. So how do they make money? All of your entertainment, like your gaming and things like that, and your audio streaming and whatnot, all of your entertainment, they make money either the money you pay to buy the game, if it's a paid game, it's like FIFA or GTA or COD or whatnot, you pay to buy the game, but actually COD's not paid for. But what you do have is in-app purchases. So either you're paying for the game up front, or you're paying for things once you've got the game. You're paying for FIFA points, you're paying for gems or Smash of Clans or whatever it is. You've got in-app purchases. You're paid for that. Or you look at the audio streaming sites. Either they have ads, and this is the same with video streaming as well, to be fair. Either you've got ads in there, so for instance Spotify ads or YouTube ads which you can't skip or whatnot, or pay a subscription, we'll get rid of those ads for you. That's how they make their money. It's fairly straightforward, it's fairly simple. You can understand that nice and easy. The second category of digital technology that we use is digital technology focused on information. I'm going to kind of speed through this one as well because just bearing an eye on the time. Information, why do we use different, well in fact first to start with what kind of things are digital technology that focus on information. I'm talking like your Wikipedia, your Google, your audiobooks and your podcasts and things like that. Things that are about information, things that are about non-fiction. Why do we listen to them? Why do we watch them? Why do we use those things? First thing is to find out very specific things, increase our knowledge in very specific areas that we want to. So for instance, like for the Majlis, when I was preparing, I was using Google to find out about social media, to find out about different types of digital technology, to find out about the entertainment industry and the information industry and all of these different things. And that's what I was using it for, because I wanted to find out about something very specific. So I know what I'm looking for, and I go onto these digital technologies and use their services to find out what I want to find out. Then you've got the other side, which is, that's like, I know what I'm looking for, and that's where it is. The other side is like the YouTube loophole. I don't actually know what I'm looking for, but it's just interesting stuff to find out. So I started watching one video on YouTube, and now all of a sudden it's like 3 AM and I'm watching conspiracy, like top 10 conspiracies in the world. All of these different things. I just found it interesting, so I just carried on watching it. Then you've also got the ability to hear different perspectives. Hear what somebody else thinks about something. Hear what somebody else believes about something. I know what I believe, I know what I think. What does somebody else believe? What does somebody else think about that same thing? And hearing these kind of different opinions and hearing these different kinds of views, it's super popular online. Because we want to watch that, we want that, we need that. As humans, we need to know what different perspectives are, because that really builds our knowledge, more so than anything else. Our knowledge is built by perspective and understanding, because when you can see how somebody else thinks, not only can you see through their eyes, but you can feel what they feel. You can understand them a whole lot better. And these opinion pieces, they're super popular, like I said. We crave off them, we look for them, and no matter how much you agree or disagree with the opinion, you'll still watch it. It's why Andrew Tate and Jordan Peterson are so popular, two very different types of people, but it's why both of them are very popular, because they give their opinion on things. They talk about things, and people listen, whether you like them or not, you listen to what they have to say. We want to hear these different views, we want to hear these different perspectives. Again, the intention for the companies who produce this stuff, or the people who are producing your audiobooks and your podcasts and all of that stuff, the reason is money. The vast majority of you. There are some authors out there and some people out there who will put out content for, for the betterment of people. They'll put out content for other purposes, but for the vast majority of them, we're looking at money again. They want to make a career, they want to make something out of it. They want to sustain themselves, and that's normal. That's how we function as humans. We need that. So how does the information industry make its money? Again, you look at subscriptions, you look at advertising, but there's more depth to it now. Like for instance, when you're looking at Google, when you search something into Google, you search what you want and Google's giving you the results, right? Except Google's decided which results you see on that first page. So for instance, if a company's placing an ad with Google, that ad's going to come up at the top. But on the flip side, also, if Google thinks that if you click on this link, then it might be able to influence you to buy something more than if you click on that link. This website looks nicer, you're more likely to spend more time using Google Chrome on that website as opposed to the website that doesn't look as good. They might have a better product, they might have a better service, but Google's going to take you to this website just by showing you this one first. Because you're more likely to click on it, it's better for Google. There's a little bit more to it. It's not just, I tell it what I want and it gives me that. No. It's telling me what I want at this point. And then we come on to interaction. This was the third kind of facet of the digital technologies we use. I'm trying to remember what time we started. It was roughly 50 past, right? I won't go too much into depth on this one, because we'll cover it in the next few days. Interaction. We're talking your socials, your Twitter, your Instagram, your Snap, your house party, whatever it is. Why do we use those? What are we getting out of it? The first one, and this is mostly true for Twitter and Facebook, is to stay up to date with current affairs and news and what's going on around the world. This is one of the ways we choose to do all of those things. Like for me, I like to stay up to date with everything that's going on with Arsenal in the transfer market. I don't follow what Arsenal tell me because Arsenal tell you very little. You follow Fabrizio Romano. You follow David Ornstein. You follow the people on Twitter who are going to give you the information because you're getting information from Twitter. Or for instance, when there was the massive explosion in the fireworks factory in Lebanon, where did everyone find out about that from? They didn't find out about it from BBC first. They didn't find out about it from CNN first, or I don't know, ITV or Channel 4. Everyone found out about it from Twitter, from Instagram. That was the first place that news broke out. Somebody uploaded it on their story or whatnot. And now all of a sudden, someone's taken that story, uploaded it onto their Twitter, and everyone knows, everyone in the world knows there's been a massive explosion. We use it to stay up to date with current affairs and news and what have you. Second reason, very simple, is to keep in touch with people, keep in touch with friends. Or if it's Facebook, to see what they're up to without actually having to keep in touch. We don't get as much social interaction, especially post-COVID. We don't get as much social interaction as we used to. We don't see each other as much as we used to. But if we can speak to them online, great. If we can see them online, or speak to them online or whatnot, you don't really need to go out and meet them as much as you used to. You don't need to go out to see them every day. You just do it maybe once a week, once a month. You text them, you send them a meme on Instagram just to let them know you're still there. That little bit of social interaction, that little bit that you've got there. Third one is, we just spoke about keeping up to date and keeping in touch with people you know. Third one is to meet new people. That's what you've got things like, again, Twitter or house party or these different things where you actually meet new people. And that's another thing we like. As humans, we like to be social. We are social beings. As humans, what we do is entirely as groups. We're not meant to be individuals. We're not meant to be alone in this world. We like being with other people. We like meeting new people and staying in touch with the people who we like. And so that's what we do, and that's what these social media, that's what socials give you. And in the same way, that being part of a group, that belonging somewhere, it's massive. And I've spoken about it here in a time before as well. It's the reason why, like, football is so popular. Like, I'm an Arsenal fan, and I know that every time I go to a game, there's at least 50,000 other people who I'm with, I'm part of that group, I belong there, I'm happy there. They'll take care of me if something goes wrong. When I say something goes wrong, I mean if a rival fan comes for me, they'll be with me, they're behind me, they've got my back. And I'm part of a group now, I belong somewhere. It's also the reason that so many causes have become so big, so many, what you call kind of social activism causes have become so big. Why? Because you feel like you're part of something. That's something we're going to speak about in the coming days as well. You also get inspiration from your socials and what have you. And the inspiration that you get, like you've got like Google Plus and Pinterest and things like that, but you get it more with other things that you don't even realise, like travel pages on Instagram or food pages, like a lot of food memoirs and things like that. These different pages on Instagram that you follow that will tell you, oh, this place had great food, or this was a lovely place that I travelled to. You're following them, the chances of you going to one of the places that they actually suggest is very slim, it's very little, but at the same time you follow them because you like to see that, you like to have that sense of inspiration, that sense of, oh yeah, I could do that, oh yeah, I could go on and get ahead with that. That sense of inspiration, that sense of aspiration, that I could do that, I could go ahead with that. We like that, we feed off of that, that's why we use our socials. And then you have, and it's pretty much only LinkedIn, where you've got professional connections, it can help you further your career. Like one of the reasons that we use LinkedIn, you don't use it to keep in touch with your mates. You're not going to message your mate on LinkedIn instead of iMessage, if you just want to drop them a quick message and find out how they're doing. No, LinkedIn is more for your career. It's more progressing and pushing forward. Trying to make something better of yourself, or trying to get something better for yourself. That's what that's all about. Again, the intent is money. But the final bit of that, on how those companies make their money, we're going to look at that in the next few days. We're going to look at that in the coming days, because that's a whole new world. There's so much more to Instagram and Twitter and TikTok than you realise. There's so much more to them than meets the eye. And if we don't understand how they work, then we can't really understand whether or not we like them. And I'm not one of those doom and gloom kind of guys who says, no, you have to delete everything and you have to have a piece of tape over your webcam and you can't be on any social, you can't do anything like that. No. That's the world we live in, you've got that. Use it to your advantage, but know what you're using. Know what you're handling, know what you're working with, so that you can get the best out of it without losing something yourself. Without losing yourself to it. Now at the start, I mentioned how we've had an extra day. We've got an extra day of lecture. In the same way, we've got an extra day of Messiah. Yesterday, we spoke about when the family of Imam Hussein Islam left Medina. That's typically what we recited tonight, the night before Muharram. You see, every single night, there's a kind of set what you recite, tradition. You have particular nights for Hazrat Qasim, you have particular nights for Hazrat Ali Akbar, particular nights for Hazrat Abdul Abbas, particular nights for Hazrat Ali Asghar. I said at the start, nobody's complaining about an extra day to learn. In the very same vein, nobody's complaining about an extra night to come. Nobody's complaining about an extra night to be part of the Azadari of Hussein Islam. See, the Battle of Ashra, the Battle of Karbala, was actually meant to happen on the 9th of Muharram. It was meant to happen one day before, but it didn't. Why? The night before the 9th, Imam Hussein Islam, he sent Hazrat Abdul Abbas to the enemy camps to tell them, we want one more night. We want one more night. And Imam Hussein Islam, when he had that one more night, he used it. He used it so wisely, he used it to the best of his ability, he used it in the way that Allah Azza wa Jalla would have wanted him to. Allah Azza wa Jalla has given us one more night. And I thought to myself, whose Messiah should we recite today? To make sure that we don't waste this night, this extra night, this gift that we've been given. It's been 2 years we haven't been able to go to Karbala. It's been 2 years we've not been invited to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, to the Haram of Imam Hussein, to his graveside. But in that time, we continued our Azadari, we continued our Majalis. And who's that thanks to? See, Like I said, we remember Hazrat Qasim, we remember Hazrat An, we remember Hazrat Muhammad, we remember Hazrat Abbas and Ali Akbar, we remember Ali Asghar, we remember Imam Hussein. But the one person who cried over each and every one of them, the one person who cried over every member of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, Sayyidah Zainab Ulya Khatun, does not have any night dedicated to her in these 10 nights. There is no night dedicated to that lady for who, if it were not for her, we would never have these majalis. If it were not for Sayyidah Zainab, we would never have this azadari. Allah Azza wa Jal completed the mission of Imam Hussein alayhi salam through Sayyidah Zainab, so why not tonight remember her? Why not tonight remember Sayyidah Zainab? Bibi Fatima al-Zahra salamullahi alayha, she says, there were so many tragedies upon me that if the day saw those tragedies, the day would turn into night, but yet Bibi Zainab is Masahib. But yet Bibi Zainab is Masahib. She is Sharikatul Hussein. She is the one who we have to remember. It's an injustice that we don't. And she went through so many pains, so many trials, so many tribulations. She was only a young girl when she awoke from a dream crying. She rushes to Rasulullah and she says to him, Ya Rasulullah, I've seen a dream. It scared me very much. It shook me to my core, but I don't understand what it meant. I don't understand what it was, Rasulullah. He looks at this young girl. He says, Zainab, tell me, what did you see? Bibi Zainab says, I was standing alone in the desert. And all of a sudden, the sand around me started to swirl, a storm started to come in, the wind started to blow. So I reached on and I held on to this tree that I found nearby. I held on to this tree, but all of a sudden, the branch that I was holding onto was ripped away. As the branch was ripped away, I tried to grab onto another. As I tried to grab onto that, it ripped away. Then I tried to grab onto the trunk ripped away. Bibi Zainab, she's trying to explain to Rasulullah, everything I held onto would fly away from me. What was happening, I don't understand. Why it scared me so much, I don't understand. When she's done, Rasulullah calmly, he looks at her and he says, Zainab, this will be the story of your life. Everybody you turn to for help will at some point leave you. First, you will lose me, your grandfather, Rasulullah. Then you will lose your mother, Zahra. After your mother, Zahra, you will lose Ali and Murtaza. After you lose your father, you will lose your brother Hassan. After you lose your brother Hassan, you will lose your brother Hussein. Now, this is the life of Sayyidah Zainab. One by one, every person she turns to would lose their life. But from such a young age, Zainab was given such a great responsibility. Zainab was given the responsibility of being the Zahra of her household after Sayyidah Zahra leaves this world. The moment where Sayyidah Zahra hands over that responsibility to Sayyidah Zainab, Sayyidah Zahra is lying on her deathbed. She calls in Bibi Zainab. She tells everybody else to leave the room. Bibi Zainab is only a small girl at the time. She comes forward to her mother, Bibi Fatima Zahra. She says to her, Zainab, over there in that corner, there is a small chest. Bring that over here. Bibi Zainab brings that chest over. Bibi Fatima opens the chest. Inside it is a stack of coffins. Bibi Fatima looks at Sayyidah Zainab. She says, Zainab, these are the coffins sent from heaven for our family. I'm handing them over to you now because now it will be you who is asked for these. In a few days, she pulls up the first coffin. She says, in a few days, your father Ali will ask you for a coffin for me. Zainab, very soon your mother will leave this earth. On that day, you have to give your father Ali this coffin. Then Bibi Zainab, she says, okay, she takes the coffin, she holds it to her chest. Bibi Fatima pulls out a second. She says, one day, your brother Hassan will come up to you and he will ask you for a coffin. That will be for your father Ali. Zainab, this is the coffin that you give to your father. A young girl, no more than 5 or 6 years old, being told about the death of each of her family members. Tears fill the eyes of Zainab. There are 2 more coffins left in that box. One is picked up by Sayyidah Zahra. She hands it to Sayyidah Zainab. She says, Zainab, look, this is the coffin sent down for your brother Hassan. One day your brother Hussein will ask you for this coffin. Give him this. Bibi Zainab then pulls up the last one herself. She looks at her mother. She says, is this the coffin of my big brother Hussein? Sayyidah Zahra with tears in her eyes, she says, Zainab, no. This coffin too will be the coffin of Hassan ibn Mujtaba. Do not ask me where the coffin of Hussein is. If I were to ask Sayyidah Zainab 60 years later, she would tell me the very coffin for Hussein was that kurta that Zahra had sewn, but that same kafan was ripped from Hussein's body. Sayyidah Zainab goes through so much in her life, so much pain. Imagine the moment she loses her mother. The children rush forward, they hold on and cling to Sayyidah Zahra. Zainab knows now her mother is leaving her. She knows she does not have her mother anymore. But what happens? An angel comes down from the heavens. It tells Mawla Ali, remove these children from the body of Zahra. There is chaos in the heavens. The skies are trembling. Zainab is pulled away from her mother. Now, the years pass by. Imam Ali alayhi salam, he goes for Fajr one day in the masjid. Zainab is sat at home. What does she hear? She hears a cry from the skies. What does the cry say? Ali has been attacked in Kufa. Zainab turns to her brothers. She calls out to Hussein. She calls out to Hassan. She turns to Abu Abbas. She says, go quickly. Go and see what's happened to my dad. What's happened to my father. They all rush out. Zainab stays inside. She stays in the house waiting to hear what happens. A few years later, what happens? Imam Hassan alayhi salam is poisoned. Imam Hassan's janazah leaves the house. Zainab stays in the house until what happens? The same janazah returns, this time covered in arrows. Zainab sits in the house with her brothers, one by one picking the arrows from the body of Hassan and Mujtaba. And now, in the year of 61 AH, in the battle of Karbala, Zainab has decided enough is enough. When Rasulullah left this world, Zainab stayed inside the house. When Bibi Fatima left this world, Zainab stayed inside this house. When Imam Ali left this world, Zainab stayed inside her house. When Hassan left this world, Zainab stayed inside her house. But on that day of Ashura, Zainab went up onto that hill, stood 70 feet away, watched on with her two eyes as all the prophets left this world. All the prophets moved away from Karbala. Imam Ali leaves, Imam Hassan leaves. Now in that battlefield of Karbala, only Imam Hussein is there, Sayyidah Zahra is there, and 70 feet away stands Zainab watching on as Shimar removes the imamah from the head of her brother Hussein. She looks towards the Furat. She calls out, Abbas, Abbas, will you not help Hussein? She turns towards the tents. She looks for Anna Muhammad. She looks for Ali Akbar and Qasim. She turns back and accepts. Nobody will come now. Hussein will have to lie there. Hussein will be killed. The final line of Masa'ib. In a few days we'll recite the Masa'ib of Hazrat Anna Muhammad. But one line of Masa'ib that I read today for the first time when Bibi Zainab finally returns back to her home. I won't go through the entire Masa'ib of her returning back to Medina. Just one thing. When she returns, first she does not go back to her own home. Hazrat Abdullah, her husband, he sends a servant to the house of Imam Sajjad where Zainab is staying. Bibi Zainab is called back to her own house. She returns back to her home. As she enters her home, she sees the two musallas of Anna Muhammad. She begins to cry. This isn't the Masa'ib I'm turning towards. It's when Hazrat Abdullah returns. He sees a woman in his house. He says to her, excuse me madam, but this is my house. My wife is not home. It is not appropriate for you to be here. Sayyidah Zainab turns around. She puts her hands on her head. She says, Abdullah, do you not recognize your Zainab? Do you not recognize your wife? Seeing this, Hazrat Abdullah falls to the ground. He faints once, he faints twice. As he regains consciousness the second time, Bibi Zainab asks him, she says, Abdullah, what is the matter? Were you not able to bear the pain of Anna Muhammad? Hazrat Abdullah says, it's not the pain of Anna Muhammad that made me faint. She says, are you not able to bear what happened to our family? He says, it's not what happened to our family that made me faint. She says, are you not able to bear what happened to Hussein? He says, it's not the pain of Hussein that made me faint. He stands there. Bibi Zainab stands there looking at Abdullah, her hands still on her head. Hazrat Abdullah looks back at Sayyidah Zainab. He says, Zainab, tell me one thing. Tell me, what are those marks on your arms? What are those bruises on your shoulders? ألا لعنة الله على قوم الظالمين فسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. We raise our hands to pray to Allah Azza wa Jal. إلهي بحق محمد وأنت المحمود بحق علي وأنت الأعلى بحق فاطمة وأنت فاطمة